Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to another recording session of Hearthstone. So we've got 3 quests here, and one is win 5 Tavern Brawls. Let's see, what was the Tavern Brawl thing we had here? Ooh. So I really don't want to play 5 Tavern Brawls ever. We're gonna trade it. We should be trading something like this, or maybe even this one. It's a hard choice really between which of those two to get rid of. Probably want to get rid of win 3 games. It's possible that I could go through an entire recording session and not win 3 games. It'd be very difficult. But I'm gonna get through this one. So that's the trade down that you were probably gonna get. Play 20 minions. Win 3 games, any class. I think this pretty much leaves us just at ranked play on Priest. Seems about the right thing. See if we can get to the top level, max level of 60. I am trying something out, so if I sound completely different or way better, that might be very well the case that's what happens. I've been able to temporarily steal / borrow a computer desk chair, and so I'm no longer, I don't know if I told people this, I'm no longer just sitting on a bed upright, which means a few things. It means I can't slide down and slouch, better back posture. Means my legs don't have to be crossed Indian style. Is that still what they call them? Or is it just called crossed legs now? I bet it is just called crossed legs now. I bet it would be insensitive to say Indian style, like they did back when I was a kid and told us to sit that way. And so my legs have been hurting me a little bit, and that's no good lately. So better blood flow, better posture, better sitting up. It took some work though. Effectively, I had to move a lot of furniture around. I had to then, as soon as I had a chair, then I needed to find some kind of desk to put the mouse and keyboard on and controller. And so then it turns around and makes more furniture that I need, so I had to get that. But sadly, it's just only temporary, because after a while, your opponent's hero power costs 5 more next turn. Why would you even play this card? What a terrible card. Job done. He's a 3/4/3. I guess he's a pretty good guy to summon. I guess if I was just looking for a 4/3 and I had nobody else to play, Saboteur makes some sense. Versus like a 3/3 that did nothing else. That sucked.
In the light's name.
But yes, this chair situation is temporary for a while. It is one of my goals to get one of those DX Racer chairs that are well, they're slightly more expensive than any other office chair, really, but they seem to be better designed. That would be about the only thing I could think of that I should get. It would be kind of silly to try and get something else. Let's see. It's a shame I can't do this. Job's done. Shame I can't do 2 of these, but even if I did. He has like only 1 character. And he's still managing to eliminate all my characters. He's using spells. No big surprise there though, as far as the mage. But yes, ideally, my goal would be to always be sitting up in a chair. It is a tiny step to towards being somewhat prepared to doing camera footage, but honestly I'm still very much against that. I think it's silly. It doesn't matter what I look like, and it doesn't add anything really in my mind. If you can't relate to me based on the words I'm saying and can only relate to me based on the way I look, well then my footage really isn't impactful to you and you probably shouldn't watch. It's a silly thing to say, but yeah. Imagine it if you were dating someone and you completely couldn't relate to or didn't care what they said, but you loved how they looked. Is that a relationship that's going to work in the long run? Is that a type of relationship that you would want to marry that person? No. It's the same thing. It's somewhat similar. It's not the same thing. Here. So if my words have no impact, I'm sorry, but that's probably a great indicator that it would be time to look elsewhere.
Fine, I'll want. Job done.
So I did a whopping 4 recordings of You Don't Know Jack yesterday, and then I just couldn't get through any more of it. I'm having a real big problem with this, and I'm still not in the position where I can just fully get rid of it. Even though that kind of is my hope and my goal. Might as well heal myself. He'll hit me 1, but that still gives me 1 heal. So I did 4, and then I started Dead Island. It's a real weird reason to be covering Dead Island, just because Dead Island 2 is coming out. When I was doing research on it, I'm like, oh, they made an MMO in the Dead Island called Dead Island Epidemic that I've never heard of. They made Dead Island Riptide that nobody really liked. They made Escape from Dead Island that everybody hated. I guess I should have probably done that. And so Dead Island 2 is like their 3rd try to make a sequel of this series, and it's just not working. The creators of Dead Island that made the game play well and fun to play all went to Dying Light, and so Dying Light by far is the better choice, it seems. I haven't played Dying Light, but I would guess, I'd almost assume that the right choice between the two would be to play. Let's see. Would be Dying Light. And then Dead Island itself has major problems. The story that the publishers, I think, wanted versus the serious game that gets made is drastically different. So you have this supposedly photorealistic animation of people. It's old animation. There's this one scene in like the first or second episode where you go up to a guy and his neck has been stretched. It's been like photo scanned, but then the neck has been stretched and he's turning his head sideways, so you just have this extremely long lines on either side of his Adam's apple that are going at very straight angles, and it's so inhuman looking. Not Inhumans from the Marvel series, but just not human looking. But then also you have, this is supposed to be a zombie apocalypse that happened on a resort island, basically. And so you have all these survivors that are in, all the guys are in like Hawaiian shirts and Bermuda shorts, I think are what they call, just long shorts. And then all the girls are in two-piece, not really skimpy bikinis, but not like one-piece bikinis or anything that is actually modest. The two-piece bikinis are often with like leopard stripes and things, and the difference is just kind of amazingly far how skimpy the females are versus how well covered the males are. And then you look at the faces of the female characters and they look really good, and then you look at the faces of the male characters and they look like the ugliest men you could find. I mean, male pattern balding, hideous. It's really unfair. You could have fixed that easily just by being a little bit more balanced with it. See, when you have like The Witcher 3 and Geralt of Rivia is in that first scene in the bathtub, Geralt has scars across his face, but he actually is probably a pretty handsome looking guy if I were to guess. Just throw up my own personal guess there. And none of the people that I particularly saw, let's see, are they gonna try and kill this?
How many fingers do you see?
Job done.
In The Witcher 3, let's see if I think about this. All of those characters were pretty unique. Triss, Marigold, Ciri, if that's their names. All the women were very, well, they were covered more most of the time. They would be in maybe some suggestive dresses, but it would be proper dress. And I guess it's not improper dress to be in a resort island. It's just kind of ridiculous. And it gets played up. And you know it gets played up because there was a huge issue about it. About them trying to release a statue of one of the zombies.
Does this hurt?
That was both sexualized and horrified because it was a zombie in one of the European collector's sets of Dead Island, I believe, and the head was just missing. So it was a bust that was missing the bust that went down to her upper thighs. Yeah, her mid thighs, I guess would be the right thing. So it didn't show her lower legs, it didn't show her head. I mean, and it's a zombie, and it's a girl, and a
Job done.
in a bikini, and it's like, what are you doing here? And then Dead Island starts off with this "Who do you voodoo be" rap montage. There's drinking, drugs, taking pills. None of those are really even touched upon in the game. There are some weird backstories when you're selecting the characters, and you get these long backstories about the characters you play as, and it never comes up. It doesn't matter one bit.
So many
And
options.
every single backstory says why any character you pick is going to be the super effective killing machine against the zombies, versus a normal zombie movie where it's just like the people that survive are just the lucky ones. it has a real teen slasher film type thing, mentality to how they do it, and the real gameplay doesn't agree with that very well. It just doesn't. Alright, I gotta maybe kill one of these.
Feel my pain.
How can I do this? I'm just gonna lose is what I'm gonna do. If only I could heal a little bit. So just the attitude with it seems so strange. And now in Dead Island, the trailer for that for Dead Island 2, which is the only thing we've seen, feels very much like the game, what is that one called? Dead Rising, which was a... This camera was pulled back in Dead Rising, and by the camera being pulled back, that's a subtle indication that this is more comedical style game.
The light shall bring victory.
Dead Rising had some major problems that I didn't like about how some of the super zombies there felt like typing of the dead enemies. Just a fat guy would become this huge blob of a zombie type thing, and that's not what Dead Island was. Dead Island was really realistic zombies, and if they're gonna take it from a realistic zombie experience to a non-realistic zombie experience, which is what they feel like it, well, they've already done that twice with Dead Rising. I don't think the world really wants or needs more games like that. That is a mode in a lot of first-person shooters, is your crazy everybody zombies mode. It doesn't need to be its own permanent game. Plus, I'd hate to see them try to go the route of Dead Rising, which was you have to run around and find a specific item, specific weapon in a specific area, and a few things can be combined, but there's no real repair or dealing with. Let's see, how are we gonna do this? I guess I have to do this, don't I? So I'm hoping I hit this guy, and I don't. That's a shame. Well, I'll just leave it here then. Whereas Dead Island is more about you find really weak weapons around. You find a lot more food and energy drinks. It's funny, you drink energy drinks and it returns your health. Let's see.
In the light's name.
There we go. Do I have anything else I want to play? Nope. And so then we kind of just get left with Dying Light as the only realistic or somewhat realistic zombie game. Which then kind of stinks if you don't like the trick of Dying Light, which was more parkour around the city, which you really don't do in Dead Island. And their day-night cycle, where the nighttime zombies are way more powerful.
Fine, I'll heal.
Well, this sucks. Just end the turn there. And then, of course, Dead Island, I haven't gotten to this point yet, but after you finish the first island resort area, you go into a city that's kind of smaller, a little bit smaller, and then you go into an island area that's really, really small. It's like two split paths, and that's it. They start on one path, it splits, and then it merges back together, and then there's the exit. And then most of the island is just like forested area that you can't reach. And then there is there's a prison section it's kind of a straight run, or mostly a straight line. It's an area where you finally start getting guns. Couple oddities in playing this a second time. I would have sworn I was gonna play with the analog attack method, which is a cool concept, but it's actually slower than the digital attack method. It's when you're attacking with the analog, you have to hold down the left trigger, then swing with the right thumbstick in different directions to attack different parts, which is cool in concept, but it is so much easier to go to digital and just pull down the right trigger, and then it just swings. So much easier, and it kind of changes the whole outcome of the game, whether the game is difficult or not.
How many fingers do you see?
My fate is sealed.
So, also since I'm playing now with the patch that I didn't have when the game first came out, the level of the zombies are actually adjusting to my level, which they didn't really do. So you'd get in areas at the beginning, or kind of all throughout the game, but mostly it was felt at the beginning, where you could just run into a level 12, level 8 character zombie while you are level 1, 2, or 3. Now there's still a little bit of holding back there, because like I've run into a couple places with locked chests. There aren't a ton of locked chests. They do a cool thing here where you break down doors instead of the doors being locked for the most part. And then the lock picking game is for chests and items. Let's save ourselves some.
This hurt?
Give a minion +1 health. So the breaking down of doors is a cool mechanic. When you pick up specific items, you hold down X. So you've got like 3 different game mechanics, I think. I haven't actually done a lockpick experience yet, so it might just be holding down X again, which would kind of stink, but not be a big deal.
In the light's name.
Heal this. Take this. Get this.
Does this hurt?
Take that. So that's one victory. So I'm having fun mostly with Dead Island to start with. I'm at 8% after playing 2 hours of the game. That's kind of ridiculous as far as the main story being done. But I had already intended that to kind of have an accelerated experience on there. It has a skill system, but the maximum level is capped. So any game like that, you kind of are you're kind of messed up there. I don't know why they do that, because if somebody's going to get to level 65 in your game, just let them get to 165. Just let them get all the skill points. Just let them play the game 5 times in a row. But in that aspect, Dead Island is a lot like Borderlands. The difference is Borderlands is like a 200-hour game, and Dead Island, they say, is a 30-hour game, and I want to try to keep it to 30 hours. Once I finish Dead Island, that leaves that time slot open for Mirror's Edge, which it has me a little worried because Mirror's Edge Catalyst just went into closed beta, but it doesn't come out for like several months. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I would think they would wait a little bit longer, but maybe they're doing a closed beta now and then an open beta later. You never really know with these characters. I've seen a couple people talking about Bayonetta recently, and I don't know why. If this is a subtle announcement of a Bayonetta 3, or what. Maybe it's more of just a perception thing. We are sort of approaching the 10-year anniversary of Bayonetta 1, so if they were going to come out with a remaster and release it on PC, I would be super, super happy. But I'm not sure that's realistic. It's only been about 2 years since Bayonetta 2, because there was basically their partner, Sega,
How many fingers
from
do
what
you
I
see?
hear, decided to focus on its important things like Sonic that really sold, and cut a bunch of jobs during the economic downturn, which we're still probably in. So what I'd really love right now is to get the one that does 2 damage to everybody. What's that one called? Holy Nova, that's what it's called. Thank you.
I can't do that.
I should have played this first.
In the light's name.
If he attacks my guy, he'll kill. Nope. Let's see, do this, do this,
Stand ready.
end the turn. So yeah, if Bayonetta 3 got announced, I'd be super happy if it was going to come out to PC.
You are not prepared.
Bayonetta actually is probably the best game that if it could get a publisher. I'm not sure it has to go with Nintendo again. If Nintendo just outright bought the license to it forever and all time, or if it just funded the second game.
Fine, I'll heal.
I think it probably just funded the second game, and so we can suspect that it's never going to be seen. That Bayonetta 2 is never going to be seen on the Nintendo console, on the non-Nintendo console. But if Nintendo was going to go in that avenue, this really is the best one to do. It's not a original Nintendo thing. It's not Mario leaving the company. It's not Super Metroid leaving the company. It's not Link or Zelda leaving the company. It's Bayonetta, just a company, something they bought.
Fine, I'll want.
Not doing too well. A lot of damaged characters here. If I could pull out something that would get really powerful, I could turn this around, potentially. But until I hear some real news about it, I don't think there's anything I can say about it other than my hopes and my dreams of it coming out. I would totally play it. We're in the middle of the lunar Chinese New Year sale of with Steam, which this sale in particular is the most pathetic sale I've seen on the Steam. And I've heard that Steam sales used to be great, and I seem to miss them. Great ones. With the refund system, there's no daily sales, no flash sales. They probably can't do that ever again until they figure out a way to get around the refund system.
I can't do that.
So all the New Year's sale is there's a story in which you follow a monkey because it's probably Year of the Monkey, and he's trying to get back home, and you have 2 links where you can go back. Now I have already noticed that there was a typo in one of the images where the word "and" is cut, so one letter is A is on the line before, and then ND is on the next line. That is almost certainly another augmented reality game. I guess I should do some research on it, see if I can get a badge. But there's no getting any... There's no getting any... What are they called? Trading cards? Yeah, that's what they're called. There's no getting trading cards or anything this time for buying games, it seems like. I bought a handful, maybe 5 to 10 really cheap games. I think I got one game for like 17 cents, amazingly enough. But that's all I got. There's a couple things that I thought about, but right now finances are particularly in question and tight, so I didn't want to go and spend like $40 on what was it? There was this one, the Tex Murphy collection. I thought about getting that, but it wouldn't have included the newest one, Tesla Effect. But it would include Under the Killing Moon, which is a game I played when I was a kid, so that would be a great series to kind of do for full motion video. I could do a short series on that over the course of 6 months to a year if I covered all the full motion video games that are actually in this thing. I already have covered Her Story, so that one's out as far as a potential starter for that series. But there's a game called Contradiction that I want to get that's full motion videos. There's Press X Not to Die. So there's a slight resurgence. There's a game called Roundabout that has some FMV in it, even though it's not. I guess it wouldn't be full motion video though. It would probably be half motion video because the animation is the main part of the game for a Roundabout. That's not what FMV stands for. It is full motion video is what it stands for, but it doesn't mean that every single instance of the game has to be recorded. I'd love to play Double Switch. I played that game to like crazy, but I'm not sure it's available on Steam or if you could play it. Thinking of that, I should go search Steam. I should see if Burn Cycle and Double Switcher are available. That would be kind of interesting.
Does this hurt?
And then I wanted to get like some of the pinball FX stuff, but the way to get those are still very expensive. They weren't very discounted in the lunar sale. So
many options.
with what was being offered to me, there wasn't very many good deals. In fact, in general, there weren't very good deals.
Let the pain speak to me.
Doing the monkey thing was a decent way to try and
Are you afraid of the dark?
Does this hurt?
let's go ahead and kill this guy. What was I talking about? It's a little early in the morning for me, but I do definitely feel better sitting up in a chair than slouching, trying to sit up on a bed. But yeah, whatever the next sale is now, what would it be? It may be the summer sale. It seems like Steam has more sales than I thought they would. But if the next sale is the summer sale, then that would be ideally when we start. That would be ideally when I start trying to power through. I thought about getting the humongous bundle, which is a bunch of little kid games. I was thinking I'd probably get those and maybe not even recover them. Let my nieces and nephews play those and not record it or anything. Just Steam has a family thing it can do. Although that would require them to have non-Mac PCs, I think, for the most part. I don't know. I don't think maybe I do get the Mac versions of games too.
Versus Malfurion.
Probably depends on the game, but I would suspect that if there is a Mac and a Windows version, you probably get them both. There's a couple of games that announced Linux support this past week or so, and then a couple of games that announced that they weren't going to continue developing Linux support. And that is Linux, isn't it? People want to make Linux support games particularly for the SteamOS Linux build, but the video driver support is just awful, and it's not really Linux's fault as much as it is the lack of real competition between NVIDIA and AMD and proprietary drivers, proprietary APIs for the way you call. So Windows just has that. I think I recently ranted about how I really tried for a year to play games on Linux, and it just is. It is a ridiculously small subset of games. Now I've got myself in a problem. I want to reach my remote that turns up my fan because I'm fancy and have a ceiling fan, and then it's not next to me anymore. There we go. Reach over there. I occasionally turn up my ceiling fan and turn it down. It's ridiculous. I'm hot sometimes and I'm cold. What happens is my heater comes on, and because the heater comes on, it gets me over warmed. And I have a fancy Nest thermostat, but the one thing I say that I think the Nest thermostat is really missing is an ability to do half degrees. If I could tell it to be more, to like do 72.5 degrees, I think I'd be so much more happy. But instead it sometimes, I think, heats the house to 73 or 74 and just says, well, we know you'll lose a couple of degrees after, through the bad insulation of the house, which is true. I will lose a couple of degrees through the bad insulation, but it just doesn't ever work. I'm probably pretty sensitive to the temperature changes and wish I wasn't. One thing I'm noticing is now that I have a desk in front of me, my first instinct was to put a drink in front of me. And because I put a drink in front of me, now my first instinct is to drink it. Not alcohol, of course, but still a bit of a problem, because then I'm sitting here grabbing the drink, picking it up, putting it down as I'm talking. It's very much like eating in a movie or TV. If you ever watch the people actually eat food, all they do is they pick up the food, they pick up the drink, they say something, and then the scene cuts, and you never see them actually drink anything or eat anything, because they have to do 100 takes of it. And if they do 100 takes and they're actually eating and drinking food, then they'd be so full and so bloated it would make them sick. One noticeable exception to this is one of the Star Trek movies, the original movie series. Bill Shatner is sitting there eating this Klingon worms that are like blue spaghetti, and he's actually eating it. And in the commentary, he said, yeah, the director said, for every scene that you're actually eating, I'll give you $50. And apparently Bill Shatner really wanted the $50, and so he took him up on it. And so he's sitting there eating, and it is quite funny to change it. Well, we're not going to play another game today, so that's going to be it for this recording. I don't know if we're going to go 3 recording sessions here. Normally we'd be doing an arena run, but it makes a lot more sense to hold this arena run until the new expansion comes out. Everything's kind of in a holding pattern. We're trying to get as much gold as possible until the expansion comes out, and then on top of that we're gonna try to hold the arena thing. So no more arena runs, no more and as many quest things as we can get. Anywho, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to. Let me know how I sounded. This is what I could always sound like if somebody would be so kind as to donate the $600 or $700 it would cost to buy a DX Racer chair. But I need to get some kind of office chair, and even if I bought a regular office chair, it's still probably going to be a couple $100 to $500 to get a good quality one that's not going to fall apart or be too small or be uncomfortable. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, all of that. If you want to support me, click on my name, Rydo. On the right is the blue button. Friend and follow me on all the social media links down below. I'm really doing the accelerated wrap up this time. Thank you for watching though, and have a good evening.